Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners. Just want to give you a little information about the mission of the Newsa-Cast. Our mission stems from the mission of the Red Smith Banquet, and that mission was to support youth sports in the Fox Valley. Over the 57 years of its existence, we've been honored to give out over $1 million to various youth sports organizations throughout the Fox Valley. The Newsa-Cast is looking to continue that mission and support youth sports as well. You can help us do that by donating to the Newsa-Cast and the Red Smith Sports Banquet.
On today's Newsa-Cast, we catch up on spring sports with AppletonSportsPage.com's Paul Lecker. Tosh and I take an old look at new, brought to you by Raleigh Winter. Our Red Smith Banquet Throwback. Well, we throw back to a throwback. Since we're coming off Masters Week, we thought it was appropriate to honor the legendary CBS broadcast announcer Verne Lundquist. And we end the show like we always do with a little "It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting." So what do you say? Let's get this show on the road.
Not anymore, Joe. Not anymore. That's all changed.
Oh, that has? Okay, well, I'm
Yes.
very much misinformed.
You might want to cut this part out.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, welcome to another episode of the Newsa-Cast. We are here and ready to talk spring sports this week, Joe.
We are, Tosh. We're going to educate ourselves a little bit on what's going on. You and I, you have a boy that plays lacrosse. You're tapped into that world. Both of my boys have graduated, so I'm not necessarily into high school sports as much as I once was. But luckily for us, we're tapped into a guy that is with Paul with AppletonSportsPage.com, and yeah, we just kind of round table through all the spring sports, get a quick overview of maybe the teams that are going to be good, who to watch for, and we just got to hope that Mother Nature cooperates with us now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a good time of the year. Everything has started. Things are a little bit behind because of the weather, but it's a good time of the year to talk some spring sports and see where we're at right now. I know a lot of the teams have not gotten off to the best to start schedule wise, but games and we'll pick up here and we'll start to see who's going to be that team, to beat heading into playoffs in this short spring season. So
no, absolutely. Well, Tosh, we know one thing in the world of golf: Scotty Scheffler.
Wow,
there's nobody beating that guy, huh?
Yeah, you know what a great story, great run. He's just smooth, right?
I mean, the guy's iron game is legendary. It's right there with like Tiger Woods. Yeah. His putting has always been a kind of, I guess, quote, questionable, but boy, when his putter's on, there's nobody can beat him. I mean, his numbers, when you start comparing him, they do start comparing him a little bit to Tiger. Now, obviously, it's just the beginning of that comparison. I understand it's early, but
right.
It's exciting. It's always fun when somebody dominates, and he Augusta's just amazing, isn't it, Tosh? I mean, it always happens. It's guys falter, would throw one into the creek, throw one into the shrubbery, and the guy that wins slow and steady. It might not be, dynamic, but guys just draining putts and hitting greens.
Yeah, you know what? It's always amazing. These guys know it's coming, and they still can't stay away. The crick comes into play or whatever it is. It's just, it's incredible. I know. I wouldn't have that problem because I'd spray it all over no matter where I play. So. Oh,
absolutely. I just thought of something that is hilarious, and it's Wisconsin based. And I don't know her name, but everybody's familiar with the rules at Augusta. I mean, it's just whatever you think about them. It's Augusta. It is what it is. And I think it's kind of funny and I love it. But the journalists, they're put into a drawing, and Monday, after the Masters, there's a foursome of journalists that can play golf, and a lady from Wisconsin who has never played golf in her life won it. She's one of the foursomes, and people are just up in arms, and they just can't. It's a golden ticket to play Augusta, and this lady's never played. It's kind of funny, actually.
That is pretty funny.
And I don't know how that round went. I never followed up, but I thought that was pretty funny.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that the journalist got that drawing. I knew that that one of the big draws for CBS is they don't have a lot of sponsors because, Augusta limits what they do in 4 ads per hour or whatever it is. But those sponsors get to play Augusta on the Monday after. So it must be with the journalists and everything. So that's the big, huge draw that they get those sponsors in. But yeah, it's a great tournament. It's a lot of fun. It was I will honestly say I didn't watch as much as I normally do just because it was such a nice weekend. I know Melissa and I were out walking the trail by Tallulah, and we came up to Stone Arch, and we decided that it was time for a drink, and we went over to Tandem and sat outside.
Oh,
and
nice.
Melissa had a cocktail, and I had a beer. And we just sat outside. We love George at Tandem. It's just a quirky little place, and it's a nice patio sitting down there in the flats. So that was kind of what we did on Saturday. So I didn't see as much as the Masters Saturday as I would have liked.
Tosh Lindsay, our who does our social for us, you and I, and we don't even plan to do this, but we've just suddenly started shouting people out, and we've also have a theme of hidden gems. And you're right. I don't know if that's a shout out or a hidden gem, but that little area, that little triangle down in the flats where you have Tandem and Riverside.
Yep.
And then the Stone Arch just right across the bridge. Yeah. And Pullman's, right.
Yeah.
Right in there. It's just, it's really, really cool. And I don't think a lot of people really know about it. But it's walkable. It's
absolutely.
It's bikeable. Good luck getting back up the hill, but it is bikeable. And, you can drive an Uber there also, but it's really cool. And the trails, there's so many trails down now through the flats.
Oh, absolutely.
And, easy, accessible to downtown. It's go check that out.
Absolutely.
More content for Lindsay. Lindsay, we're shouting people out for you.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we do here. Content,
That's
right?
That's right. Just a machine.
All right. Anything else in your world, Joe?
Well, not in my world, but I did want to shout out also, since we're into shout outs, Appleton Downtown Inc. actually just saw Jennifer announced their schedule for the summer. And go back and listen to her episode. She talks a lot about what's being released. It's just the volume of events that they do is mind boggling, but huge lineup of music like you'd expect. The night time fairs coming back. I'm blanking on the name, but the After Dark.
Ignite After Dark or something. Yeah. Yeah.
I believe there's more than one, if not three.
I think there's 3. I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. And the farmers market. And that's what summer's all about, right? In Appleton. Right. So, I think we call them the vibe setting machine, and they're setting the vibe. So yeah, I wanted to shout out them, and they're setting my schedule for the summer. I know that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know they did a little announcement with Mile of Music today as well. That was part of it also. So that's excellent. Yeah, great, good times. There's nothing better than a summer day downtown Appleton. Listen to some music, checking out the stores. It's fantastic.
Tosh, stuff's getting cranked up, right? The sun's getting warmer and brighter. We're almost through April. You're right. It's almost May. All of this stuff is here. Festivals and Paper Fest and all of that stuff here is going to it's a matter of weeks before it starts. So
absolutely.
What the heck here? I'm getting excited.
Sounds good. Well, Joe, as you like to say, we probably can move this episode along, huh?
Get the show on the road, right, Tosh?
There you go.
Maybe you and I take a little old look at new.
Sounds like a good plan.
It's that time again, once again, for an old look at new. Brought to you by Raleigh Winter & Associates, celebrating 55 years. Did you know that in 1962, an Appleton junior high school teacher with a strong work ethic started a residential realty company? His name, Raleigh Winter. 3 generations later, the Winters still hold true to a strong work ethic and an excellent reputation in the community. Today, Raleigh Winter and Associates remain actively involved in providing retail, office, and industrial users an affordable, well-designed working environment through the creation and/or acquisition of quality real estate in the Fox Cities and even beyond new. So what do you say? Let's take an old look at new.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it is time for that look at history that we like to call an old look at new. We get to take that little look and see what's going on around us, and who knows where it's going to lead us. So, Joe, where is an old look at new taking you this week?
Tosh, it's taking me right to the streets once again. Isn't everybody excited for that? We're talking about the Reverend William H. Sampson, better known as Sampson Street, Tosh. No, this guy.
Street.
Yeah, Sampson Street. It's not very big. It's over in my neighborhood, actually. Runs off of, I believe, like Mead and Law Street. It's only a couple of blocks long. So not long at all. But William Sampson was the first principal and primary financial agent of Lawrence University. So he was actually, I saw one plaque where he was actually credited as being one of the founders of Lawrence. So this guy was there before Lawrence started. Another East Coast guy. It's interesting, all the East Coast guys that some of these streets are named after that wandered over here before, right around the time Appleton was becoming Appleton. Yeah, this guy, obviously did enough with Lawrence and just did a ton in the area, and so much so that we named a street after him, Tosh. So Sampson Street, better known as William Sampson. And the other thing, too, after he retired, he moved to out west somewhere. But after he died, they brought him back, and he's actually buried in Riverside Cemetery. So I thought that's kind of cool as well.
There you go. That is awesome.
Absolutely. So, Tosh, how about you?
Well, I'm going to go back to April 15th, 1987. And on April 15th, 1987, the Brewers had their first no-hitter, pitched by Juan Nieves.
Yeah.
And that was, Puerto Rican-born pitcher. He accomplished this feat in his in major leagues. He was the first Puerto Rican-born pitcher to accomplish that feat in the major leagues as well.
All right, Tosh, I have to test my memory. Yeah, Robin Yount with the diving catch, right?
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah,
absolutely.
Secured the game, right? I mean,
that
secured the no-hitter for sure.
Secured the no-hitter. Uke has an epic call. I mean, a young voice of Bob Uecker in 87. That was, what a game. Yeah. Baltimore Orioles, right? In Old Memorial Stadium, I think, right?
That I did not look up.
I'm almost, I'm testing my memory, but I'm confident enough that it was done in Baltimore.
Well, I assume your fact checker. Your fact checker will get that going for us.
Steve, fellow carrier Steve will check that out. I'm completely going off of memory on that one.
I do remember watching that game though, and that was high school, and what a fantastic fantastic game for the Brewers, fantastic for Juan Nieves as well. But yeah, very cool. First no-hitter for the Brewers. And the first no-hitter for a Puerto Rican-born player.
Yeah, I love it. That was a good one, Tosh. Well, hey, another riveting edition of An Old Look at New, brought to you by Raleigh Winter.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, today we're going to take a look at high school sports and particularly look at spring sports. And we have the pleasure of sitting down with Paul Lecker from the AppletonSportsPage.com. And he's going to give us the best he can into what's happening in spring sports here in the Fox Valley. We had some Mother Nature not playing so nice with our spring sports, but things are underway now. And, if you're interested and you want to get your team onto his sports page, remember to have your coaches and statisticians to send out messages and box scores and all that kind of stuff to Paul at the AppletonSportsPage.com. So we're going to get going and listen to some spring sports. Well, we might as well get into some spring sports here and give us the rundown. I mean, let's start with baseball. I mean, Kimberly has been conference champs of the FVA for like the last 5 years, or they still looking to be the powerhouse in the FVA this year?
Yeah, they're the last undefeated team right now.
Okay.
They've only played 2 games
before
today, so where most of the other teams have played 4 or 5. But yeah, it seems like they're the real deal again, and what a surprise.
Yeah.
They got a great sports program all the way around there, and their softball team's off to a great start too.
How deep is a high school pitching staff usually? Like a Kimberly, are they 2 or 3 deep?
That's the thing, especially now this year you compress the season another 2 weeks. It's only a 7-week season before playoffs to begin with. You lost a week or a week and a half. They got to cram a lot of games in. There were a lot of non-conference games, I think, that got outright canceled.
Okay.
But the conference games are going to get them in, and it might lead to double headers, and then it is about pitching. And
right.
What I've noticed a lot of teams doing is pitching guys 3 or 4 innings rather than trying to let them go the whole way. That way, if they play, say, on Tuesday, you can pitch again on Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
But then again, you have to have 5-6 different guys that can do that. So those are the teams that win normally.
Yeah. Right.
Who are some of the other teams that are looking pretty good in the Fox Valley this year so far?
Everybody's kind of been up and down. Kaukauna off to a good start. Appleton North won their first couple games, then they lost a couple non-conference games. Appleton East is they've only won 1 game, but pretty much every one of their games has been pretty close.
Okay.
So I mean, I think it's Kimberly, and then everybody's kind of just chasing them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it does come down to a lot. I mean, you can practice all you want in the spring and indoors, but once you get out onto the field, who knows what's going to happen, especially when you have young kids at 15, 16, 17 years old, what it's going to be like on the field. Unless you have an established program that has that culture built in like Kimberly does, you have to take some bumps along the road until you kind of get into that swing, I guess. And I think early in the season, a lot of these teams are just trying to figure out where they're at.
Yeah, for sure. And especially when you're getting these, this last week, for an example, when the weather was finally good, some teams played 4 or 5 games and, play a doubleheader on Saturday and then play again on Monday and play on Tuesday. And, then it's about your depth and hopefully, the guys just kind of get into a groove a little bit. And the thing with spring sports is the playoffs have a set start date.
Yeah.
They're going to start March 16th or May 16th, May 18th, whatever, right in that range. You have till then to get ready. And, then it's just 1 game every day. And
right.
Who knows what can happen, especially in sports like baseball and softball. You have 1 bad game, and it's done.
That's true. That's a good point.
Is State still at Fox City Stadium?
Baseball is, yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Are there any teams outside of the FBA? It's going to be a whole different world than what it was in the past when it was a club sport. So that'll be fun. It's going to be a lot of excitement, and it should be kind of cool to see.
FBL's had some really good offensive games, and now tonight they beat Wrightstown, which is Wrightstown's first loss.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big win for them. They played yesterday as well, and Wrightstown won, but they won at 5-0 today. So
nice.
That's a big win for them. And Xavier hasn't had many games yet.
Okay.
I know they took a spring trip. I think they went to Iowa for a couple non-conference games when there was snow on the ground here. So they haven't played a lot of Bay Conference games yet, but they look like they have a pretty good pitching staff. Gavin Weezy was a guy that he threw up complete game shutout the other night. Only threw like 85 pitches. So,
all right.
It was a pretty impressive game for them.
Completely off topic, but Xavier's getting a turf football field, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw that they're ripping all that up. There's a bunch of construction going on at Fox Lutheran too.
Yeah, Yeah, both of those schools, and Xavier's getting the turf field, Foxborough Lutheran's getting the field house. In their phase 1 of their program, they have a pretty high expectation for their phase 2, including new football field, turf indoor stadium, new baseball, softball field, stuff like that. So yeah, they're both looking at doing some things to help their programs. So that's always fun to see.
Yeah, we just went through that in Marshfield and got all turf fields, and it comes in handy when the weather's bad. They can play on them.
Right, that's true. Until you get those big, massive turf burns.
Right. It is funny seeing guys slide head first and on the turf, and they kind of forget about it, and then they stand up.
Absolutely. It's unreal.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Leck, that, I mean, baseball now is going to a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's more and more fields are turf for baseball as well, which is huge.
Yeah, we have the regular softball field here in Marshfield is all turf, the infield. And they have a baseball field that's normally used for the JV. It's a little bit smaller park, but the varsity's been playing on it because their regular field isn't ready yet. So it's good. Otherwise, they would have been on the road for the last 2 weeks.
Did they do turf infield and do they have grass outfield? I've seen a lot of stadium. Okay. Yep. A lot of fields do that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So as we move forward, guess an easy transition is the softball. And I've been hearing some chatter about Kaukauna again here in the FBA. They seem to have a great program, kind of like Kimberly baseball. So what can you tell us about Kaukauna?
Yeah, they're just rolling along. I saw tonight they beat Oshkosh West. I think it was only 2-0, but it was another good pitching for them. And then they haven't given up many runs yet.
Okay.
Kimberly is another team that's doing well. And it seems like that's a pretty much 2-horse race in that for softball. Yeah, 3-time state champion, going for 4. And I would say they're probably off to a good start.
They have dominant pitching, and they have for the last 3 years. I mean, that's really I mean, that's the interesting thing about softball is if you have a good pitcher, it's going to take you a long way.
Right, for sure. Yep. And they have enough hitting too. I mean, the number of players that have went on to play Division I softball, so
absolutely, I'm
sure it's continuing.
That riser, Leck, tough to hit.
Yep. It is. I tried it once. It's not fun.
No, it's impressive actually. Yeah. Who else? So we have Kaukauna. Who else is good, Leck, in softball?
Again, a lot of these teams haven't played a lot of games yet. New London is the top of the Bay, and I think they're the only undefeated team left there. Northeast Conference, Denmark is undefeated. Foxborough Lutheran is off to a good start. They're, I believe, 3-1. Okay. Madison Babcock, their pitcher, has been pretty on fire so far. Double-digit strikeouts, I think 2 or 3 last games. So, yeah, they've been hitting the ball. So, but they haven't gotten to the media of their schedule yet either. So,
right.
Yeah, things will really come to a little bit clearer in the next couple of weeks when these teams dig in deep into their conference schedule and they aren't playing these non-conference games anymore.
Well, another turf sport and one that we actually covered on the Noosa Minute was girls soccer. Girls,
right.
That's in full swing. We covered Appleton East. I mean, they're off to a great start. The Worth girl is Reith, I think, right, Tosh? I think you mentioned she's in your
sisters.
Yeah.
Two sisters.
Marley's in my homeroom, so I'm going to give a shout out to Marley.
There you go. Yeah. Her and Addison, I think they had 11 of their 15 goals this year, something like that. And they're 5-0. They're off to a great start.
Absolute studs. They're fantastic.
Yeah. I'm gonna head over to one of their games soon. So,
are they looking to be one of the top teams in the conference right now? Then.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the theme. It's like it's early yet. You don't know, but they haven't really played. I mean, their schedule. They don't really play the top teams until the very end of the year. They play Kaukauna and Kimberly. I think 2 out of the last 3 or 2 out of the last 4 games. So, that's in the middle of May. So, but you build that momentum early in the year, and obviously two great players, two great scorers. Yeah, I mean, they should be right there.
That's good to hear. I'm sure I'll hear about it in my homeroom. So,
Right. Yeah, it'd be fun. It's always fun when teams get off to, especially teams you're not necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
And they get off to a great start. And like I said, momentum can be a big thing. And with high school kids, winning is contagious.
Yeah. And, when we talk, and like we said with baseball and softball, with these short condensed season, and anytime you get who knows what the spring weather is, we could have a week of rain. And
Right.
that really cuts into things as well. And keeping that momentum, getting off to that really hot start is going to play a big dividends down the line for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the other teams, I know Xavier has always had a pretty decent program for soccer. Are they continuing? I mean, they're early in the season here, looking like they have a program as well.
Yeah, they won a few games. I think they maybe only played one conference game so far. That conference I know for sure, and the Northeast Conference, they haven't really played many conference games yet for soccer. So,
all right.
Yeah, we can talk about golf. There's a big meet on Monday. Was it Appleton Metro Championship? It was called.
Ooh, nice.
There's 20 teams at High Cliff, and Kimberly again looks like a really good team. They have a good guy. I forget his name. He shot 67.
Wow.
Yeah. But Appleton North, Appleton East, Xavier, Fox Valley all had kids do really well in it, and now the Fox Valley they have dual meets for their conference meets. So those have started up now tonight. Appleton West won theirs, and they beat Oshkosh North. Colin Evers, good golfer for West. He had a top 5 finish in that big tournament yesterday. And then the Appleton City tournament will be next Monday, I believe. That's getting going finally, too, and hopefully the courses stay dry.
Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, you can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Please help us grow by subscribing or sharing the Newsa-Cast with friends, or follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram.
So how does that work? You had mentioned the one kid shot a 67. So high school is playing 18, or are those just special events?
Most of the tournaments, the bigger tournaments, are 18.
Okay.
When they're playing their conference dual meets, they're 9 holes usually.
Okay.
Some of the conferences, like the Bay Conference, they play 7 or 8 conference tournaments. And all, every school would host one with every team there, but I believe they only play 9 too.
Okay.
And
then the Appleton tournament, city tournament, what tell us what's that about? Is that just the 3 high school or the 5 high schools?
Yeah, it's the 5 Appleton schools. They play at North Shore actually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
That's a nice tournament, nice track
Right.
for those boys to play as well.
Yeah, West plays at Winnegamie, and East and North both play at Reed. They have their conference tournament, the FVA tournament, at the end of the year is at Chaska. So.
Yeah, all the good old courses. Reed always has a soft spot in my heart. I love Reed Muni.
Always in good shape.
It really is.
It really is.
Well, that's definitely fantastic.
Tosh like number 4.
One time in my life, I've never come close since then. But my name's up on the plaque. So,
Nice.
Believe this or not, I came close on a par 4 last year to getting one.
Jeez,
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. Like I said, I've never come close again, so I doubt I ever will. But hey, you never know. Who knows what's going to happen? Are there any other teams or early in the season here that have traditionally played well or have had decent golf teams?
Team-wise, I mean, Kimberly looks like they're going to be the team for that conference. I would have a tough time if you got a guy shooting under par.
Yeah.
I think the other, once you get to the sectionals at the end of the year, they're probably the team to beat.
Okay.
Individuals, there's some guys that have been doing really well so far, just a few meets in, but John Hunick, who is a sophomore at Appleton North, been really good. He took 3rd yesterday.
Okay.
Bertram, I forget his first name, at Xavier. He tied for third at that meet on Monday. So they're off to good starts. And and then, when you get to the sectionals, it's the top 2 teams and the top 5 guys not on those teams. So you're fighting for those extra spots. And I think there's a lot of guys from these schools that could make a run at that.
Well, you just have to keep praying for good weather for them.
Right.
Firm up those greens.
Yep.
That's right.
Right.
We can move on. Look at boys tennis going on right now. I have to kind of tease my coworker, who's one of the coaches at East. Probably the first time in a long time that they're number 1 in the conference with a 1 meet win. So, but you know what? They didn't do so well last year. I don't even know if they won a meet. So, winning the first meets, and they played tonight. I don't know if they won or not, but both teams beat Fond du Lac 4-3. So it should have been a battle tonight. But so shout out to Appleton East Tennis.
Yeah.
See how they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, tennis, they haven't really done much yet. They've had a couple non-conference meets, I think, or, tournaments on the weekends. But truthfully, I haven't been getting the results from the coaches for the most part either. So,
yeah, it sounds like they haven't done much. I'm sure, hopefully this will pick up a little bit and we get some good weather for them. And you know what? It's kind of like golf again, where you have, some really good players and you have some players to kind of fill in, and it kind of depends how everything comes together. And
right.
Even though it is a team sport, it's a very individual sport as well.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Like wrestling, tennis, golf, or kind of all that same way.
Yep.
And there is a team component to it where they do have a separate team state tournament.
Okay.
I'm not sure if any of the teams from our area will be in that contention, but see how it plays out. I'm sure there'll be people battling for those individual spots once they get to that point, and that's 4 or 5 weeks away yet.
We can move on to a favorite sport of the Newsa-Cast, and that is lacrosse.
Yes.
I know us closer to you, Paul. Wassa team has been playing pretty well and just had a big game against. They beat Middleton, I believe.
Okay.
And they vaulted up into like the top 10. So that's awesome for them. The North teams traditionally have not gotten all the attention that the Southern teams do in lacrosse. So some good battles sure to come. But again, with that snow and everything, we've kind of been on the not as many games in as we would have liked to have.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I saw, Ryder Hill.
Yep.
Scored, I think, 7 goals the last 2 games.
Actually, Ryder, we should shout out Ryder and congratulate him. I did see scored his 100th goal, career goal. Yep. I've watched Ryder since he's been a youth, and he's been a heck of a kid. I mean, he's always played attack. Has had that knack. He's just dynamic, in the crease, around the crease. He can find the back of the net for sure. So yeah, shout out to Ryder. Lacrosse is in his blood, and he congrats on that 100th goal. That was huge.
Yeah, I think he's running at about 19 for the season right now, in the top 3 in the state. So he's putting together a good run here. The last 2 games for sure. So I know they play. Appleton United plays Saturday against Middleton, so that should be a good matchup. And I know Nina's ranked pretty high, but I think Nina's only played like 1 or 2 games so far. Okay. And Kimberly is up there as well. Honorable mention. I think we have that new conference with everything being WIA. There should be some good battles.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how things shake out at the end of the year in the playoffs. Where there, like you said, there isn't a lot of teams in the area, so they're going to have to face some of those teams from the south.
Yep.
In the playoffs, right away potentially. So. It'll be interesting to see how Appleton can hold up this first year of WIA. Like you said, the Hill has been doing really good.
Landon Larson has been right there with him.
Yeah,
he had a lot of assists.
4, and I think he had 4 scores last game too. So, yeah. Now they had a week off, the whole week off this week. So then we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse is like all these sports. You need to get hot at the end of the season, and lacrosse in particular, the road to the championship runs through all the southern teams. I mean, the Appletons, Kimberleys, Bayports, they'll beat each other up through the course of the season, and you got. I mean, they've started off. All the teams up here have actually started to play the southern teams pretty well, or they've beat the Middletons and I don't know how good. I mean, the southern teams, I'm sure, are fighting the same things that the northern teams are fighting as far as which schools are going to have the WIA sport. Are they going to include lacrosse? Do they have enough players to even play out of one school? Do they have to co-op? I haven't really paid close enough attention to those teams, but there's got to be challenges. Certainly in the Milwaukee area, there's got to be challenges to that.
I mean, Appleton's co-op is huge.
Yeah. It is pretty massive.
They have kids from everywhere, and all the way to Wapaka and Wild Rose, and they play these smaller teams, Pulaski and Oneida. I mean, I'm sure they're grabbing from everywhere as well. But it's good that they get that chance.
No, you're right, though. It is huge. It's a huge co-op. But hockey's like that, too, isn't it, Tosh, kind of?
Yes.
Yeah, hockey has a lot of co-ops. Fox City Stars has a ton of teams, like 8 teams. There's tends to be a lot of, you have to offer, WA tries to offer kids the opportunity to play. Yeah. And if you have to co-op, you have to do that to give these kids a chance. So, and hopefully once as lacrosse gets going, we'll see some of these co-ops shrink because other schools will be able to build programs as well. And I think that's the hope with the Appleton schools. I know that some of those outlier schools will kind of fall off, and these kids are grandfathered in. So we'll have to see what happens and see how hopefully lacrosse continues to grow like it has been.
Yeah, I mean, with the WIA picking it up now as its sanctioned sport, I think it's going to make a big difference too. Yeah. And, they have something to look forward to and to play for at the end of the year and to train for in the off season. That state championship just being sanctioned by the WI, it makes it a little bit more real.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how lacrosse turns out too once they get into the tournament. What that's going to be like.
It's going to be a whole different world than what it was in the past when it was a club sport. So that'll be fun. It's going to be a lot of excitement, and it should be kind of cool to see. Hello, Newsa-Cast listeners. What you're about to hear is only a part of the speech by Verne Lundquist. The entire full interview is on our YouTube channel. Just search Newsa-Cast or check out the link in the show notes. Head over to YouTube to watch the entire speech of Verne Lundquist.
Verne Lundquist, Tosh, 2003. He was the featured speaker at the Radisson Paper Valley Hotel. You'll see Chuck Kunitz was the master of ceremonies. Yep. He introduced Verne Lundquist, and you and I thought it was pretty appropriate here to have Verne, being that he just called his last Masters earlier this past week, or this past Sunday.
Absolutely.
And, he talks a little bit about the Masters in his speech.
Great interview. Hope you enjoy it.
Red Smith Sports Awards Banquet Throwback.
The Red Smith Award, of course, goes to someone who has made some unique contributions to sport in Wisconsin and also epitomizes the great values that Red Smith exhibited.
Let's give a Red Smith welcome.
Please welcome Verne Lundquist. Verne.
Thank you, Chuck. It is a real pleasure to be in Appleton. I've been in this town many, many times, and in this hotel many, many times, but always when we were doing a Packer game on television and, of course, the visiting teams. stayed here tonight. It's a pleasure to be back in a more official function. I'm reminded a little bit about a game I did back in the late 70s. I was at ABC, and we were doing a game in Logan, Utah. This was Brigham Young University against Utah State, where Merlin Olsen played his college football. And it was a BYU team that was undefeated at the time. They'd won 5 in a row against a Utah State team that came into the game at 4-1. Lavelle Edwards at BYU had a sensational team. Some of you might remember Gifford Nielsen, who played with the Houston Oilers. He was the starting quarterback. The second-string quarterback on that team was Mark Wilson, who later played with the Raiders. And they had a redshirt freshman named Jim McMahon. The tight end was a guy named Todd Christensen. So we go into Logan, Utah, and it's a gorgeous city, a beautiful October day in the Cache Valley. And we were expecting a real tight ball game. Well, BYU just exploded. And Gifford Nielsen threw for 4 or 5 touchdowns in the first half. They were up by about 35 points at halftime. Mark Wilson came in the third quarter. I remember distinctly he went 8 of 9, and the game dragged on and on and on. And what had been a sellout crowd had headed for the exits. And the sun is going down. We've been on the air for 4 hours. And our director, Joe Assetti, was looking desperately for any kind of a shot to kind of demonstrate what was going on. And he found a lady sitting alone in the end zone, an elderly lady, appeared to be about in her 70s, all by herself, the chill coming in. She had a shawl wrapped around her shoulders. She was hunched together like this, lines really etched deep in her forehead. And I was searching for something to say. Joe Assetti put his key down to me and said, "She was a freshman when the game started." Congratulations to all of you who won the awards tonight, and what a pleasure it is to share the dais with men of such distinction. Pat Richter and I go back a few years, and Eric, congratulations to you on the great season. Do we not all understand why Brooks Robinson is Mr. Nice Guy? And I think you also understand why those of us in my end of the business, when we came into Green Bay to do a game, would talk to the PR staff, Lee Remmel or Jeff Blum, and say, line up Leroy Butler, please. Because it was constant that we would see, good to see you again. I did notice a small scattering of boos at the mention of the Dallas Cowboys. Larger now. I actually was at the Ice Bowl game. That was my first year in Dallas. I had come to work at Channel 8, the ABC affiliate in Dallas, in 1967, and was asked, and what a great honor it was, to do the pre- and the post-game show on the Cowboy Radio Network. By the way, the most overrated ride in all of America is on John Madden's bus. He's got a lot of idiosyncrasies. One of them is, that he keeps the bus at a constant 55 degrees. It is meat locker cold. John also is a little claustrophobic, doesn't like to tie his shoes, wears tennis shoes, but he is obviously one of the great characters in the sport and one of the great broadcasters. One more, and we'll everybody say goodnight and go home. But Brooks really caught my attention when he was talking about trying to maintain humility and a sense of perspective. These great athletes really know what the spotlight is like, and to a degree, those of us who are in television and in broadcasting do as well. You're on the air and you're in people's homes, and you hope that there's a familiarity that comes into play. But I was reminded of a story that happened that gave me a sense of perspective in 1975. I did a show in Dallas-Fort Worth for 2 years. I'm not ashamed to admit it now. I was for a long time. It was a game show, and it was called Bowling for Dollars. It was franchised around the country, so it was probably in Milwaukee. I know it was in Boston, may have been in Baltimore. When they came to me and asked me to do this, I said, I'm not going to do that. After all, I'm a dignified broadcaster. And they said, listen, call Los Angeles and talk to Chick Hearn. He does the show in L.A. So I called his office, the late Chick Hearn, the Laker broadcaster who just died. And I called him, Mr. Hearn. I introduced myself. I'm in Dallas. They've asked me to do the game show. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, tell me. He said, oh, it's great. He says, we run at 7 to 7:30. 5 nights a week, and we beat the Cronkite Show, we beat Huntley Brinkley, we beat ABC News. And I said, but you're the voice of the Los Angeles Lakers. Aren't you worried about your reputation? He said, son, understand one thing. Anybody who watches this show doesn't know that I do the Los Angeles Lakers. So I did the show for 2 years in Dallas. And at the end of the first year, I got a call from ABC, and they said, we have your Thanksgiving assignment, and you're going to get to do your first national telecast. It's Texas at Texas A&M. I lived in Texas for most of 20, 30 years, and it was just a wonderful assignment for me. The number 2 Aggies against the number 5 Longhorns, undefeated Texas A&M, once beaten Texas. My partner for that broadcast was Frank Broyles. It was his first telecast ever. Went down to Texas A&M. We did the game. Aggies won it 20-10, and I am on an insufferable ego trip when the thing is over. And my buddy Joe Cash and I were going to drive back to Dallas. We get in the car. Joe's driving. You remember those ugly old yellow ABC jackets that Al and John wore one night earlier on their 500th? Well, I had one of those on. So, Joe, can you imagine 20 million people watching this? Yeah. I said, no, think about it. People in Portland, Oregon, and Portland, Maine, yeah. So I go on in this vein, and we pull into a gas station in Fairfield, Texas. He gets out, goes in. The guy's filling up and washing the windshield, and he looked in, and I could tell there was a slight hint of recognition. But he didn't really seem to be sure, so I thought I'd turn and make sure he could see that ABC patch right there, right? He's going to say something nice about the game. And he rubbed the windshield, and he looked inside. And then he turned over his shoulder and yelled at his partner, Rudy, God Almighty, get out here. It's the Bowling for Dollars dude on the TV.
Well, Tosh, that was another epic throwback to a throwback that we had already had, but you and I both thought it was appropriate to pay homage to Verne Lundquist, who was in the 16th Tower for this past Masters, and it was great to hear him. You can catch all of the throwbacks every Sunday and the whole catalog on the Newsa-Cast YouTube, so please make sure to check that out. And, well, Tosh, before we end this show, let's what do you say? Play a little It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting.
All right. Well, I'm going to forget this week, and I don't know if I'm not forgetting. I think people are forgetting what the date actually is, because today I saw people in their gardens planting, tilling. I'm like, wait a second, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Our average high temp is only like 53 degrees right now. I know it was like 80 today,
right?
But it is still the middle of April. Our growing season hasn't quite begun yet, so I hope people don't kill all their plants and stuff that they're trying to put in the ground a little bit prematurely.
Mother's Day, that's usually the day, right? That's about the time?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's the old wise tale, right?
Something like that. Well, best of luck to all of those folks. But yeah, I noticed the same thing. There were a lot of people out doing yard work, and they look like some freshly planted something.
Yeah. So we'll have to hope for them. Maybe they know something that we don't. So, Joe, what do you got?
Well, Tosh, I guess I did yard work in a sense, and it was more of the dog poop type of yard work. It's a spring ritual that I always forget. Gosh darn it, did dogs poop. Lots of garbage bags of dog poop, Tosh. There was that day to do it. Today was the day.
I think there's a book that you can read to your kids. Says everybody poops.
Yeah,
So-
facts, pure facts, Tosh. And I think some poop more than once a day, judging by the weight that I lifted today. But yeah,
Wow.
it's forgotten, Tosh.
Yeah,
Dog poop.
that's disgusting. Thanks for
It
bringing that up.
is. Yeah, well, you're welcome. And thank you to all the folks. And, it dawned on me, too. I've been stepping in a lot of it, too, as a letter carrier here over the last couple of weeks. I think it's just like coming out of the frozen ground and just appearing out of nowhere. But anyway, let's get off of this subject, Tosh. And I think let's get on to something maybe that we're never forgetting. So how about you, Tosh? What are you never forgetting?
Well, I we had Verne Lundquist on, but I just love watching the Masters. It's one of those things where I can't
Jinx,
get
buy me a
past
Coke,
it.
Tosh.
Yeah, same thing, huh? It's something beautiful about that course, and when you read the stuff, Augusta, their prices are unbelievable, like $1 for a sandwich. They don't take money. They could make millions of dollars on their TV rights, and they make zero. They require the reporters to call the fans patrons, and it's just everything that they do and everything that tradition. It's just amazing, and that course, I would love to go there someday just to walk it, but
Yeah.
it's just beautiful. Just something about the Masters.
No, it absolutely is, Tosh. Everything you said was correct. I'd love to go there as well. But since most of the time we watch it on TV, I challenge anybody to find anything on TV that is better in high definition than the Masters as an overall TV show. I mean, and a lot of you feel like you're at Disney. The birds are chirping and just the colors are so vibrant. But that's Sunday afternoon. I'm glad it worked out for me. I got home today right about the time that Scotty was right when he birdied 9, and then they're making the turn to the Masters doesn't start till the back 9 on Sunday. And
Right.
that's when you just settle into the couch. And I know it was nice out today, but man, it was so nice to just veg on the couch, listen to Verne Lundquist, talk about the 16th green. And it's always something special. And I feel like we all could play the holes. I mean, they're incredibly difficult, and we would absolutely suck on every single one of them. But you know the course like the back of your hand, and it's just, you're right. It's something special, and it's one of my favorite Sunday afternoons of the years is this one, Masters Sunday.
And the lack of advertising, because Augusta doesn't allow that either. I think, what is it, 4 ads per hour? Something like that.
It's a lot of golf. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and the cameras too. A lot of uses now of the drones and the you can really see the undulation now in the course. A lot of like 10 was pretty incredible. They had one where it was almost like head high, but back in a distance. You never really realize like 10 is just really on a slope.
Right.
It's it's really cool. It's love it, Tosh, and
it's a sporting event like no other.
Oh, it is. And then they have their own throwback. I still remember 86 when Jack won it.
Yep.
And Verne Lundquist, I think, had the call on that one. It was yes, sir, when Jack drained it on 15 to take the lead. Yeah, that was it's epic. You're right.
It is.
You're right.
So I stole that from you, Joe. I don't know if you have something else, but we can just tag team that one.
Yeah, well, that happens to us every once in a while, and it's an appropriate and a good one to tag team on. And yeah, I guess with that, Tosh, we got another one on the books. We're in the 40s now for episodes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Loving every minute of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, enjoy. Make sure to like, subscribe, view, check out the YouTube page, and we'll talk to you again next Thursday.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Newsa-Cast. We'd really appreciate it if you hit up our social pages, subscribe, like, follow, and don't be afraid to engage. Head over to our YouTube channel to get exclusive content like the full interviews and speeches from the past Red Smith banquets.
Thanks for listening to the Newsa-Cast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and tell a friend. A huge thank you to Diggstown for all the music in today's episode. Catch a gig or find them on Spotify. Help us grow by subscribing wherever you get your pods or sharing the Newsa-Cast. Follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. One of the best ways to help us grow is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Northeastern Wisconsin Sports Advancement is a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to raise money, provide support, and bring greater awareness for youth sports organizations in Northeast Wisconsin. We do this primarily through the Red Smith Sports Award Banquet and the Newsa-Cast. Each year, we give back to the community through 3 initiatives: the Every Kid Plays Grant, the Gives Back Initiative, and scholarships to student athletes.